Welcome, everyone, to the first ever free Moron Money. This is a show we do on Patreon a couple times a week where we talk stock market and crypto. It's mostly evolved into cryptocurrency talk. I myself am pretty much completely out of the stock market, so I don't pay as much attention as I did, say, last year. So if you want to follow crypto talk, we will talk a little bit about the stock market being down very much this week, unless you're a fan of a little up and comer called GameStop. But other than that, not a great week for the stock market. We'll talk about that in a minute. But it's mostly crypto talk. So if you're interested, follow along. These are the free episodes, but we do one on Sunday to kind of prepare you for the week ahead, and Thursday mornings to kind of check in midweek, and then this will be the Friday episode where we kind of recap everything that we talked about. So just if you haven't been following along, I'll let you know that I got very lucky that I bought into the stock market when it crashed in March of this time last year, and that enabled me to make a few bucks and get into cryptocurrency eventually and buy some Bitcoin, Cardano, Ethereum, and some others that we'll talk about. And my logic is that I'm a moron who knows nothing about this shit, and last year knew even less, knew literally nothing about it. And I've been able to make some money. A lot of that was helped by luck, but there's no reason that if I'm able to, you shouldn't be able to also. So this is not in any way financial advice. Apparently, legally, you have to say that shit. I don't know why. I feel like if it's called Moron Money, that should give me an out. But not financial advice in any way. I just call it a springboard to doing your own investigation. So you can take some of the shit that I say, my theories or my logic, and some of the news that I talk about, and do your own investigation, because there's a lot of people that know a lot more than me that you can follow. So this is just step one in your journey into the stock market and cryptocurrency. So big dips all around, stock market and crypto this week. A lot of people are talking about rising bond yields is why the stock market is down. I've heard that thrown out there for crypto as well. And people also talking about, I got out of the stock market, because I was tired of being beholden to Robinhood. And if I wanted to buy something, I didn't want to wonder if they're going to allow me to do that today. But also because my fear was that you can't just keep printing money and making up numbers and have stocks continue to go up. It didn't make any sense to me. Things just kept going up. I kept saying it's going to crash, and it never did. And it still hasn't. This would be, a lot of people are calling it correction. I think that's probably accurate, because I think when they yet again print more money and we get those stimulus checks, I think you're going to see stocks rise again. So I guess I'll get the stock stuff out of the way, because there's not that much today. But my main thing with the stock market is, yes, I got out, and I got out at a time where I made some money on everything that I sold, pretty much. If I had held on to some things like Penn National and Afria that I liked a lot, I would have made even more money if I just waited a couple weeks. So that's the dangerous game you play. But now it's back down. So my whole philosophy on this shit is that when people are panicking, and when you start to panic, because I would do it too, right? Be, holy fuck, the numbers are going down. Look at it this way: if you don't need that money right now, if it's money you need right now, maybe you shouldn't have even invested in the first place, because it's a dangerous, dirty game. But if it's not money you need right now, and you're fine for the next 6 months, year, 10 years, if that's, if it's long-term investments you're making, which is pretty much all I do, then hold on, wait it out. If you look at something like Afri and it dipped a little bit, or Plug Power and that dipped, think to yourself, did I buy this for the next month and a half, or did I buy it for the next 5-10 years, or even the next year? Because a lot of those are going to be back. That's how you have to think of it. If you're buying stocks for the short term and saying, oh, I think I've heard some news that tells me in the next week this will go up, or I'm going to buy some puts because I think this is going to plummet, then that's fine. Maybe hedge your losses. But if you're in it for the long term, don't panic when you see those numbers start to decrease, because I would do that. I would see, and I did it with Bitcoin. I have Bitcoin now, but I could have got it at a lot cheaper price a year ago when I originally bought in, and then I saw it go down $200 in like 3 minutes. I panicked. I sold the guy. I don't have the heart for this shit, because I didn't know anything about it. So it also helps to know a lot about it. The more videos that I've watched and news I've read on Bitcoin, and the more people I follow, the more confident I am about it. So it's enabled me to hold on even when you see it dipping like today. So a lot of people say the rising bond yields have affected Bitcoin as well as other cryptocurrencies. Cardano, however, staying strong, which we'll get to as well. But I don't believe that's the case. Another reason people talked about the dip was this lunatic Janet Yellen saying that Bitcoin is inefficient as far as transactions go. Not only is that a possibly solvable problem with the Lightning Network, it's also something that everyone knew. Bitcoin makes 3 transactions per second. A lot of other cryptocurrencies like XRP, Cardano, many others, Stellar, that's what you would get into for EOS, for higher rate of transactions. So everyone knew that. It's actually been the big criticism of Bitcoin. So if you've been buying into Bitcoin and knew that, you're like, well, what the fuck? Who cares, Janet Yellen? Another reason people cited was that Elon Musk said Bitcoin and Ethereum were too high right now, which, he's also said Tesla was too high. I can't imagine why he does that. But people freaked out about that. And I'm getting a little tired of Elon Musk dictating where all kinds of markets go. But good for him if he's able to. I don't like that he tweets like a 15-year-old girl, but that's fine. He's got a hell of a lot more money than me, so he can do what the fuck he wants. But point being, I don't think it's any of these things in the news. I believe it's manipulation, and I believe that there's people behind the scenes either upset that they did not get in on time, or that want to buy more. If you look at the people that have bought into Bitcoin, they did not freak out when the dip happened. If you look at the people with a lot of money, they did not panic. Michael Saylor bought a lot more. Square and Jack Dorsey doubled down, they said, and they're investing more in Bitcoin. And that might be, if you're also in the stock market and you're afraid of crypto, people like that might be good ones to follow. Now, MicroStrategy's gone up a shit ton. This is another thing you guys should make note of if you're getting into the stock market. I looked at MicroStrategy when I first learned who Michael Saylor was, who's kind of the godfather of Bitcoin. And I started listening to him and hearing a lot of things that they said, and they made a lot of sense to me. And I said, well, let me buy some MicroStrategy. And then I looked and said, oh, it's up 127. Who could afford a stock at $127? Which is, I don't really regret it, because my logic is I couldn't buy a ton of shares, enough to make it worth my while, really, at that time. But if you bought one share at $127, it's been up in the 900s the last I checked on MicroStrategy. So a lot of these, SOS Limited is one that someone mentioned to me, getting into the mining space. Marathon Patent Group is another one, where these companies that are getting into the crypto world are ones that you should be keeping an eye on, because it may affect their stock price, which we just saw with Twitter as well. Square and Jack Dorsey bought a bunch more Bitcoin, said it's the future. And you look at Twitter in the 70s right now in stock price. Another reason for that, I think, a much smaller reason, in my opinion. But I also saw Twitter is now trying to compete with sites like Patreon. They're coming for me. But I think that's very smart, because if you look at Facebook, I mean, who the fuck uses Facebook other than your grandfather? But Facebook has evolved with the times. So if Twitter was just going to be a site where people call you a jizz rag every 40 minutes, then maybe it wouldn't have evolved with the times, and maybe you would have seen it fade away like MySpace. But if they're starting to get into other venues, like trying to be the next Patreon, where you can have subscription type content, or maybe it's more like OnlyFans. I don't know what the exact setup is going to be. The OnlyFans thing is not a joke, by the way. I meant more their price structure or how they do it. But point being, they seem to be changing and evolving, and part of that is Bitcoin. And you see a lot of these companies that are more open-minded, accepting Bitcoin and buying a lot. Now, you've seen Warren Buffett and his business partner. I always get his last name wrong. Charles Munger. I'm certain I'm getting that wrong again. But he said this week that Bitcoin just doesn't make sense as a future investment. He doesn't like gold either. So why is Bitcoin going to be any good? He doesn't understand it. Now, that's a guy with a lot of money, Warren Buffett as well, and Berkshire Hathaway. So it's someone generally you maybe should trust with their financial advice. The reason I don't give a shit what they say is because anytime you hear someone talk about Bitcoin, there's two camps. There's the people that are very informed and cite statistics and data and logic and news stories and history and follow the charts. Or there's people that say, I don't understand it. It's too volatile and it's scary. And I'm just, why? Why would you do that? If those people had the same type of logic that, the Bitcoin maximalists do, then I'd be nervous. I'm persuaded very easily. I'm not very confident, and it's easy to sway my opinion, but not one single person has done that about Bitcoin. So I would say follow a bunch of people. Follow Michael Saylor. Follow the Winklevosses on Twitter. There's YouTube channels that have been doing it a hell of a lot longer than me. BitBoy Crypto is one if you like trading, which I am, again, not really into. But for news, Journey Crypto, The Modern Investor, Altcoin Daily, those guys are all pretty good. The Modern Investor is kind of a weird guy, but he has good news, good information. So follow all of these channels and look as hard as you can, try as you might, to find someone who also dispels Bitcoin, because you need to hear those opinions. But every time you hear someone on CNBC or any of these other mainstream news outlets saying, Bitcoin, I don't like it, there's never any logic behind it. It's fear. The only argument I hear that makes sense is when people say the government just won't allow it. The government at some point is going to step in and put some restrictions on it and not allow you to own it. Or if you make a certain income, you won't be allowed to. That's what happens in Russia every other week. But the further we get into this, the less likely that is, because the more Elon Musks that own Bitcoin, the less likely it is that the government is going to step in, because those are the companies that control the world. So once Amazon and Apple buy in, I'd say, good night, nurse. It's all over. Bitcoin's the future. So you take with that what you will. There's other news stories like JP Morgan this week back in on Bitcoin, saying Bitcoin's a good investment. And 2 weeks ago they said it wasn't, and 2 weeks before that they said it would be $400,000, and 2 weeks before that they said it was horseshit. JP Morgan changes their mind every couple weeks, which tells me again that there's manipulation going on. That they say one thing to affect the price, and then they say the opposite thing to affect the price the other way. The story I always reference is Scott Menard, I think his name is, from Guggenheim, who said, I remember he said in January, he said, Bitcoin, it's time to get out of Bitcoin. It's too high. That's weird. I feel like I've heard Scott Menard's name associated with Bitcoin before, and I thought it was in a different light. What the heck? What the heck was that, Mike? And then I look back, and a month earlier, he said Bitcoin would be at $450,000. Now, why would someone change their tune that drastically in a month? Maybe they learned something that they're not telling us. Seems weird to not cite any information if you have it like that. Or maybe it was because Guggenheim was trying to get into Bitcoin and waiting to be allowed to. So Maybe that had something to do with it as well. Who knows? You'd have to ask old Scotty. And then the other news that I saw in regards to Bitcoin was um, IBC Group out of Dubai. They like my guy, the mayor of Miami, who is very pro Bitcoin. Oh, does he love it? Miami has talked about possibly accepting Bitcoin for taxes and paying their employees. And it's something my guy Yang has mentioned as well if he gets into New York. And I've been saying that if cities like Miami and New York City adopt Bitcoin in any way, really, then you're going to see a domino effect. Well, this company or this group IBC out of Dubai said, hey, Miami, we're going to earmark. We like what you're doing. We're going to earmark 100 mil Bitcoin. And I believe, I'm sorry, 100,000 Bitcoin because there's only 120 million in circulation. I knew that was wrong. Or maybe it was $100 million. I'll have to look again. But I think it was 100,000 Bitcoin. Now, that would suggest to me that they probably have more than 100,000 Bitcoin. So a lot of these people that have been in forever are going to control the world eventually. The Michael Saylors and the people that were in even before that. That's another piece of news. I know I'm all over the place, folks. I'm sorry. But follow along. I get to all of these during the week, and it's a little more. It's not. I'm lying to you. I thought I could get away with it because I was like, they don't listen to the episodes. But when I'm talking to myself, I'm always this scatterbrained. I hop from topic to topic and have horrible ADD. But that's just how it is. If you like it, subscribe. If you don't, buzz off. But the other piece of news this week was that, or just yesterday actually, was that 10 Bitcoin that were in a wallet that hasn't been touched in 8 years, at least, were moved. And none of the news articles I saw said where it was moved. You know, maybe it was moved to a different wallet. Or maybe if you were into Bitcoin 8 years ago, 10 Bitcoin is not that many to you. Maybe you have a shit ton. Some people speculate that this was Satoshi Nakamoto, the guy that is credited with creating Bitcoin. Either way, I don't have an issue with that. Even if it is Satoshi. First of all, he plans on never using it was for the people, evidently. Great guy. Now, I understand why maybe you wouldn't buy that. So, if it was Satoshi, I don't give a fuck either. What I've been saying all along is one of the reasons you see these dips is because there's so many people who bought in years ago at $1, at $10, at $100, even $1,000, that it makes a lot of sense for them to take profits now and buy a house and a car. And if you just sold 10 Bitcoin, it's $500,000. It's nothing crazy. I mean, that's great. I'll happily take it. But I'm saying as far as, being part of the world's wealth, which a lot of people, I saw Anthony Pompliano, who was a horrible interviewer, but an interesting guy to follow on Bitcoin. He tweeted yesterday that if you have one Bitcoin, that will give you financial freedom in the years to come. So if one Bitcoin does that, imagine what 10 could do. So I suspect if you were able to hold on to 10 Bitcoin for 8+ years, then you probably have more. And you held on to some of your Bitcoin and you just wanted to take profits at this point, which does not seem that weird to me. I don't know why people freak out about that, but they do. You saw that news everywhere and people panicking. I don't get it. Maybe someone can explain to you a little better as to why that's so dangerous. But I think that's just going to happen. And if maybe they're not holding on to any Bitcoin, which I would think that's short-sighted. But hey, good for them. They stuck it out 8 years. Some people can't go 8 years without taking their fucking profits. I would say that's a lot of people probably. But, who am I to say? That's the Bitcoin news. And the Cardano news I wanted to get to as well. If you guys aren't familiar with Cardano, a lot of people now think it's going to take over for Ethereum. The Ethereum price is stalled, topped out at 2,000 and then has slowly dipped back down ever since. Now it's at like 1,400. It was pretty steady at 15, 16, 17. And now it's, the last I checked before recording this, was down to 14. So Ethereum is stalled out. And a lot of people have said it's about the gas prices. The gas prices are just too fucking absurd to be a sustainable thing that people use. Like, just they're out on Ethereum. Now, I would point to my thing with Ethereum and why I've kept a little bit is that that wasn't different a month ago when people were saying there's going to be a $20,000 Ethereum, and Ethereum might flip Bitcoin eventually. Uh, I what's changed in a month? The gas prices were the same then, but I think people are kind of waking up to the fact that Cardano barely has any gas prices. Theirs is a lot cheaper. And it seems like you've got the Mary Hart fork on Monday that will allow staking and all kinds of other stuff. They got a bunch of smart contracts, and in fact, you've seen a lot of the smart contracts that were tied to Ethereum jumping ship and moving over to Cardano. So this is kind of Cardano's time to strike. A lot of people think. You've heard that with Polkadot and Algorand and some others, but Cardano seems to be the leader in the clubhouse right now. Some people don't like Cardano because of Charles Hoskinson. I actually love what I've seen from Charles Hoskinson. He's very arrogant, but I don't think that's a bad thing for a businessman or a leader. He goes pretty hard at the competition. He laughed the other day. He tweeted, "I laugh at people that say we can't compete with Ethereum." And he was going at the guy that runs EOS. So Charles Hoskinson left Ethereum. He was there at the beginning of Ethereum, didn't like the way it was going, and he jumped ship. Same with the guy that started Polkadot. And evidently, I didn't know this, but the guy that started EOS as well. And I see Charles Hoskinson tweeting at him saying, "You ran away scared from Ethereum when the times got tough." And Dan, I don't know the guy's name, but his first name was Dan. And he said, "If you think that EOS can compete with Cardano, Dan, I didn't know you were a comedian." And it's weird to see, a titan of industry and finance, the way Charles Hoskinson is going at someone like that. But that's kind of why I like him. I know some people don't like him for that reason. But follow Charles Hoskinson on Twitter, and he puts out a lot of videos. Watch those. See what you think about him. He talks a lot about a lot of shit that I don't understand either. So there is that. But he's definitely an interesting guy. And he said this week that Elon Musk was in fact trolling Cardano with some of his 15-year-old girl activity, changing his profile picture and his Twitter bio, and kind of hinting at the Mary Hard fork that I just mentioned. Now, it does appear to be it was just trolling. There's no evidence that Elon Musk bought Cardano, but he trolled Dogecoin and Bitcoin before buying into those as well. So maybe he'll buy into Cardano, and that will definitely affect the price. Also, you've seen everything else dip except for Cardano. Cardano's went back up to about $1.10 and has held strong, probably based on a lot of this news and people being excited for Monday and seeing where that goes. But it has held strong. Now, a lot of people, this is a mistake people make as well, and that I've made in the past, that you look at Cardano and say, well, it's $1.10. Why would I buy one Ethereum at $1,400 or $1,700 when one Cardano is $1.10? I could get almost 1,400 Cardano for that price. What you should look at is market cap. And I believe right now Cardano's market cap is $32 billion. And there are, I believe, a maximum of 40 billion Cardano that could ever be in circulation. I think it's closer to 30 billion right now. 32 billion. Did I say billion or million? It's billion. Point being, the math you should be doing is the market cap. You shouldn't look at Cardano and say, well, it's $1. So based on Ethereum's price, I could 1,400x my investment because the market cap wouldn't match up. I think Cardano would have to be worth like $100 trillion to match Ethereum's price or something crazy like that. So at least for a while, it probably won't catch it. But what you should be doing the math on is, well, it could easily get to 100 billion or $1 trillion market cap someday if it's going to be adopted by Africa. A lot of people talking about Africa, countries in Africa, or Africa as a continent, possibly adopting Cardano. So if that's the case, then start doing that math and saying, well, yeah, I could see it doubling, tripling, quadrupling. And that's where Cardano is very appealing. But all these things are things to look at. Right now, if you're in the stock market, uh, I'm not in on GameStop or AMC. I tried to, and Robinhood forbid me a few weeks ago when the rest of the world wanted to as well. So I didn't get back in this time. And to be honest, I didn't know it was going to happen. I kind of thought that craze was done. I wouldn't recommend it. I find it too dangerous. But like I said, this is not financial advice, and there's people that know a lot more than me. So see what they say, and then do your own research based on all of that as well. But yeah, I'm not interested in GameStop. Really, it could continue to go up. I personally don't think they're an up and coming company. I myself think that going into a store and buying used video games may be a thing of the past. But who am I? Maybe they're going to pivot and become a very, very wealthy company. Now, people are saying GameStop might buy Bitcoin, and that could save them. That'd be interesting. That would be really interesting if GameStop was saved by Wall Street bets and Bitcoin in the same month. And that's who controls the world now. But we'll see. As far as the stock market goes, it would scare me right now. However, if you started to lose, like if you're down, I don't think it's a good time to sell. Maybe a time to take profits and see how things go. But I always think the smarter thing is to let it play out. I toyed around with a Penn National when it was at like $75. And I was like, well, it's so volatile right now. I'll buy back in at 60. And then luckily I was able to grab some more, not all. I had, a few hundred shares of Cardano, and I was down. I'm Cardano of Penn National, and I was able to grab much less because I was toying around with it, trying to be cute and make a little extra money. The problem with that as well is taxes. If you're trading like that, you have to pay tax on it. Now there are loopholes where if you buy back within 30 days, then technically it doesn't count, maybe. But and there are workarounds like that, but it's very tricky, and you have to know what you're doing, which I do not. So it can be dangerous for dummies like us. So keep that in mind. Hopefully, some of this information was productive and easy to follow. I have a feeling people may criticize it. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll keep doing these free episodes once a week until you're too mean to me and I run away scared back behind the Patreon wall. But if people seem to enjoy it, then I'll keep doing it. And if you want more and earlier news, then go to patreon.com/blindmike. Did I say that weird? Patreon.com/blindmike. And, if you don't already follow me on Twitter @blindmike_. That's pretty much it. $5 a month for, that's what I should say. For one episode a week, it's $5 a month. For 2 episodes of Moron Money per week, it's $10 a month. And with both of those subscriptions, you get all the other bonus episodes of the Blind Mike Project and all the other wacky things that we do. And if you're watching this today on Friday, episode coming out tonight on Patreon. So look for that as well, of the Blind Mike Project, where it's a podcast where I rant about the same shit every week. It's boring. Don't subscribe. We don't want you. I'm kidding. It's fantastic. I've rambled long enough, folks. We will talk to you next time on More on Money.